Hey everyone, this is Gleb, and today I want to talk about a question that's been going on for ages. Why doesn't Cypress have a wait? And there's a thread online about adding Cypress await support. I suggest my plugin. Of course, everyone's angry that it's not built in. And again, I'm looking for specific examples of what you cannot do using Cypress pretty easily. And a lot of those cases, what you want to do is probably not the best taste design. So, for example, in this test, the user wants to use an asynchronous function called SUMFunction to get the selector and then use that selector to get the element and click. Now, this is not a deterministic test design, okay? So, but let's say you want to do that, right? Is it difficult to write in Cypress? Okay, let's see. I prepared a small example. I have a button. It has ID 1, and I have that asynchronous function that returns a promise, and it's just ID 1. Okay, so if we want to get the selector from this asynchronous function, well, how do we feed it to scget? Well, it's really easy. Cypress schedules its command, so if you have asynchronous function, you want to run it and tell Cypress, wait for this promise to be resolved and then use a value. So you can use scyrep command, pass a promise, and then you have a selector. And in this case, you will use scget and then click. Let's see if this works. 1 second passes, we get the right selector and click on it. We can simplify this a little bit. Because Cypress automatically passes the current last value to the next command or assertion, we can use cyclic outside of sciden, because the sciden will just yield whatever last command scget in this case yields. Okay? And now notice sciden takes the argument and all it does calls another function with that argument, so we can use point-free programming where we just remove this intermediate function and just say, whatever you get from the previous step, just call this function with that argument. And now it's pretty simple. And I like it. In simple cases, this works. The problem here, or might be a problem, is that promises are eager, unfortunately, in JavaScript. As soon as you call new promise and pass a callback, it starts running. And Cypress uses very declarative approach. It first queues up all the commands with its arguments. But as soon as you get right here to scyrep and then this function, the promise has been created already and it starts running in parallel with whatever the rest of commands. And this is one of the problems why people don't like using promises.then, because if you just create promises, they start running in parallel. And this is why people like await, because it kind of makes it so simple to say, do this, once it's done, start doing the next line. So temporarily, it's very simple. First line, second line, and so on. So if we just wrap a promise, then if we print it, you will see that it actually works opposite of what you expect. So let me clear it. Now notice we are waiting 1 second, then printing start, and then wrapping the promise. But if we run it, notice what happens. It prints getButtonSelector immediately, even before scilog runs. Because as soon as you get here, you create a promise. Meanwhile, you're still waiting for 1 second. In this case, it's not going to be a problem, because yes, you got the selector, but scyrep will wait for scywait to finish, scilog to finish, and then it will pass the value from the getButtonSelector to the sciden and scget. But you probably want to call this function only after you log start. No big deal. You can say then and just pass the function handler. And in this case, you don't even have to wrap anything. Notice wait, logged, and when promise was created, they execute one by one in this case. In this case, you're not creating the promise yourself. You just tell Cypress, once the previous command scilog is done, then call this function. It will create a promise and then get the value and so on. So this is my kind of rant, I want to say. Never really noticed anything that cannot be done using pretty elegant Cypress syntax. If you want to see more, I have a blog post, the Zen of Cypress data setup, where I show that in many cases Cypress actually allows you to write simpler declarative code for even asynchronous operations. Alright, I'll put the link to the source code to this example in the description of this video. If you have any questions on example that you want me to help write better using Cypress way, just ping me or let me know.